Boy, it is a hot one.
Yeah, not as bad as it has been though.
All right, so earlier when we were doing our update, we promised to tell this story involving myself as a young actor, Mike Tyson, the boxer, and News of the World, which was a large English tabloid out of London. Yeah. And it was huge at the time. We're going back to 1988.
Kind of like National Enquirer is today, right? Bigger?
Yes, but no. There was I think more actual news in it than smut, you know. But anyway, it was pretty nasty stuff. Yeah. Tawdry, as we would say. So it's okay. So here goes, and bear with us because there's a lot of backstory in this.
Yeah.
Farm girl and I had just moved out to Los Angeles from New Orleans.
Right.
Where you had graduated. And I had been a bartender and an actor out there in New Orleans.
And you had been getting good work.
I was getting work. I was kicking ass.
Yep.
I was doing television parts and movie parts, and I was loving it. And so I said, so you got a great job offer, and we said, hey, we're moving to LA.
We hopped in the car
and drove across country.
Went out there and looked for a place.
Yeah. So we rented an apartment in North Hollywood, and this was in the analog days. There were no cell phones.
You had to make notes.
We had just gotten, for God's sake, fax machines.
Yeah.
A few years before, and we started with email. We didn't even know what email was. So I had a little list on paper of potential contacts to
people that
start integrating.
Knew
My estranged father's friends, writers, a producer or two, just contacts that people who I knew had been kind enough to give me and say, hey, contact this person when you're out there.
Right.
They might be able to help you. So it wasn't a long list, but it was a good start. And so I started going down the list, and we're living in our little apartment, and life is great. And I talked to Chuck Connors, was still alive, and my father worked with him for 25 years.
Yeah.
So I spent some time talking with Chuck, a few conversations, and his agents, and I think in fact his agent signed me in Santa Monica.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I found this writer.
Writers, yeah.
Yeah. So I contacted this writer, and I said, look, I understand you do entertainment writing and stories, and he said, yeah, absolutely. And so we started talking, and we hit it off, and he said, yeah, I can do some human interest stories, lifestyle stuff about you being an actor and your day-to-day in LA. What is it like? Me being young and naive, thinking, that sounds like really interesting stuff.
Well, he brought you and interviewed you on the radio, and he made it sound legit.
It sounded legit. It really oh, okay, I was a sucker.
There's a little bit of foreshadowing there.
Oh, boy. So he says, yeah, I'll write some stories and we'll do some interviews. And we started doing that.
Bring me all your pictures.
He showed me a couple of stories, and we did.
He was a model.
So he says, bring me all your publicity photos. He was an English guy.
Yeah.
His name was Michael St. John. He was a gentleman of color, and he was effeminate.
Yeah.
That's not disparaging, is it?
No.
So anyway,
He was.
he said, bring me all your photos. So I live in Burbank, so I went and met with him, dropped off all this material, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. This guy's going to help my career.
He'd be like, oh, I wrote a story the other day. It was just a little blurb. And, every now and then he
would report to me that, and he's making money doing his thing, and he's helping me, and we're friendly, and I saw him a couple of times, and then out of nowhere, maybe like 6 months later or so,
about 6 months.
My brother calls me from Louisiana, and he was very distraught. He said, Jay,
what the hell is going on?
What's going on out there, man? I said, what do you mean? Very agitated voice, he says, there's a story in the National Enquirer about
News of the
you.
World.
Oh yeah, National Enquirer.
Oh, it was
Because they
okay.
picked it up.
Oh, okay.
About you being Mike Tyson's gay lover. And I said, what? Now,
And then, like, around the same day, we got a letter from a TV station in LA.
yeah,
Yeah, asking you to go on and talk about your love affair with Mike Tyson.
I vaguely remember
I
that.
remember you opening it when we were in the elevator on the way up to our apartment.
I should have
We
done
were
it.
like, what?
I should have gone on and cleared
Yeah.
my name. Well, maybe that's
I
why.
don't
Maybe
think
they
that you
didn't want me to
could. Yeah.
go on because it wasn't true.
Yeah.
But
They were like, forget it then.
so let me try to give you now a little more background about us, me, and the whole gay thing. I don't discriminate against gay people. I never could do that. I don't get that. I don't understand how people can hate or have anger towards people who are not harming anyone, but doing the things that they love.
Yeah.
Man, that's just wrong. I don't care what your religion or your...
I mean, it's just the way that you're born. It's not like you chose it.
Yeah. I hate that kind of hatred.
Yeah.
So I've never been like that, you know. So it was this, but at the same time, I'm trying to pursue a career in which, in the 80s, when it was still taboo to be a leading man and be gay, unless you were a leading man in a gay script,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
But if you wanted all your options open, you played it straight, whether you were gay or straight, right?
Right.
Like Rock Hudson and those kind of people. So, but it just so happened I was a young heterosexual, and who didn't want his career ruined by being shown to be a big phony, and this had the potential to ruin my career before it even got started.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
So Michael St. John became your enemy overnight.
overnight, this guy,
was
Michael
like,
St. John, was like,
You don't
he
want to
said
mess
to me,
with me.
I said, Mike, what the hell did... And he let on a little bit. He said, oh, I read a story about you being Mike Tyson's friend. And I said, no. This says gay lover, and a couple of these quotes are very, very specific about him paying my rent and me teaching him proper English.
Oh my God, that's right.
And him, in exchange for that, he would get me connections and help me in the film industry. It was very involved, Mike. It wasn't about us just being buds.
Yeah.
So, and that wouldn't have made any sense. And I don't.
He said, you don't want to mess with me. I'm a viper.
But you don't want to mess with me. So, at the time, Tyson, it was '88. He was a kid. I was a kid. We were all kids.
Yeah.
But he was the heavyweight champion of the world, and this was huge. And if you could get a story, a cover story no less,
Yeah.
Sunday cover.
He made a lot of money.
He made a lot of money. It was big. He was chomping at the bit to get a story about Mike Tyson. Along comes this fresh-faced, innocent kid from semi-innocent from New Orleans out to big LA to be scarfed up and spit out.
Yeah.
And he used me.
Yeah.
And so it became a protracted legal battle, which lasted for 5 years.
Is it that long?
And so now,
Yeah, that's right.
it became really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We had children while this was going on.
Yeah.
By the time we settled this case, our kids were, I don't know, 3 and 4, 3 and 6,
No.
something, I don't know. Anyway, so it started in '88, and so right away there were two sides, and I had a buddy of mine take the case. He was a maritime attorney. I mean, he worked the Brinks robbery and whatever vessels were involved in the movement of the
That's
gold or
interesting.
something. Yeah, and it
didn't
fell
know
into the jurisdiction of that kind of law. And this was his first foray into slander and libel. And his name was Arden Lee out of New Orleans. Great guy, good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he took the case, and he found out about it through the grapevine too, along with everybody I knew. And so there were discoveries. Okay, so you enter into this lawsuit. Well, guess what? News of the World had a legal army, you know.
Yeah, and they set out to try and prove that they checked all these
In-house.
facts.
So the impetus, what their
Facts.
motivation became to prove that I was gay.
Yeah.
I was a phony. I wasn't really a straight guy living with his girlfriend and pursuing leading man roles. I was a gay guy.
And then everything that he said was true.
So, man, it was like they sent out a swarm of paralegals
Calling
and
all your old
attorneys.
girlfriends.
They were calling old girlfriends. They called my estranged father, who used to. He would call me a faggot. He would say, "You're a homo. You're a faggot. I'm going to rip your closet door off by the hinges." So it was a really weird. I was coming at this from a really weird position, you know, like it was just strange.
Yeah, it was.
I always had people say, you know, I always thought you were gay. You know, when they found out I
You
wasn't
were
gay.
just a pretty boy.
I was a pretty boy when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so that was a thing, you know. So it made it
And you were a model.
more embarrassing. Yeah. So out comes this cover with a picture of Mike Tyson holding a dove against his naked, beautiful black body. And that's the big picture.
Yeah.
And he's cradling it in his solar plexus, right? White dove, black skin, beautiful shot. It looked very feminine.
Yeah.
And then below there is a picture of the young actor.
You're going to see this in a second.
Yeah, I'll insert a shot of it.
This guy.
And of course, it's me with my beret and my sucked-in cheeks.
It was awesome.
I like really
It
sweet.
was perfect.
So anyway, so the News of the World attorneys are trying to prove me to be what I was. Because if they can prove that I'm gay, then it's not really slander or libel, because they're just writing about who I am. And I could maybe sue for something, but like not, you ruined my career. And that was the damages we wanted. I was suing for like $3 million,
Wow.
$4 million,
That's a lot of money.
saying you ruined a career where I could have potentially made much more than that.
Yeah.
And so what they needed to do is prove that at least they didn't lie about all that stuff.
Yeah. Or that they
maybe
checked the facts and the facts said.
Right.
that he was
Yeah. So they were calling my brother and my
They didn't check any
girlfriend and my angry ex-fiance, who said, well, maybe he is an opportunist and did that. And I don't know. She was just pissed. And
Yeah.
so my attorneys are calling them. Their attorneys are calling them. They're digging through my whole past.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they found out who I was, which is who I am. But it took 5 years.
So in the end, we had to go
We had to go to
London.
Yeah,
We had to
for a day.
for a day.
For
That was
one day.
tough.
Here we are, poor kids struggling to scrape by in LA.
Yeah.
One of them an actor, so that means one income.
Exactly.
Yours. I worked as a
He was Mr. Mom.
I worked in a restaurant before we had kids.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle.
Yeah.
And so we had to fly to London. We would like to have been able to have a lot of money to spend some time there, make a vacation.
Yeah,
of
that
it.
would have been really cool.
One day. We stayed at Piccadilly.
Yeah.
And
It was a circus.
yeah, it was a circus. And we went to the Ince and Company law firm by the Tower Bridge.
Yeah.
And we met with them, and then they took us to the Queen's Court.
Showed us
showed us-
where the
Go on,
what
say
was
it.
it called?
They said,
The goat
now,
fuck.
is it? They showed us the door of the courtroom and said, that's where the goat fuck will occur. And we were like, what? What does that mean? And they said, well, the press will swarm you as you come out of court each day. And he said, now the jurors may
Right.
like you. They may sympathize with you. They may find you to be an attractive young couple.
But
But they may hate you because you're a Yank and you don't deserve squat.
yeah.
And they just think you're a smirky smartass. You don't know.
Yeah.
And enough people had thought I was a pretty boy in my life
Yeah.
for me to think, you know, like you're getting by with a lot. Ironically, I wasn't getting by with much. I grew up poor, but I just looked like I could be a young, rich
Yeah.
college kid. So he said, then in that case, they could find you, you know, they could find the News of the World guilty of slander and reward you $1. Yikes.
$1.
Here's your dollar, Yank. And he said, it's up to
Gotcha,
you.
dollar.
You know, if you want to take your chance, you might want to settle,
Yeah.
which would be on the low side of in between.
Yeah, they were there,
Very low
ready to
side.
settle.
They were ready to settle.
They were like, here,
And that
you
was
ready?
why we had to go to London. is just to sign things and
Yeah.
for them to familiarize us with their legal system and how those things are fought. And it didn't sound very enticing for my wife and I to have to go over there, and I would have had
Stay
to borrow
there
money.
and
Yeah.
fight for a long time.
I would have had to have borrowed thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to go over there and fight,
Yeah.
and in hopes that I could recover that. So anyway,
We settled.
we settled the case. But in the interim, this guy, Michael St. John, was doing his best to prove that I had sold him the story.
Yeah.
Michael St. John outright lied and said that I wrote him a check, or he wrote me a check for the story. And it took all of these discoveries, interrogatories, etc.
much
took
research.
years.
Yeah.
Research, and he
prove.
was trying to come up with this check. And my attorney was like, "You're sure that he didn't pay you for a story?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No, the guy never
Didn't
paid
he came up with like a fake check or something.
something. He forged something."
Yeah.
And then we proved that was wrong, summarily. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we got a microfilm of it. So we said, all right, we'll settle. It was a good little bundle of money. It was more than I would make in a couple of years,
Yeah.
unless I was doing some good film work. And that's the story.
Yep.
So you never know. You live long enough, you're bound to go through some weird shit. And my sweet girl was there with well, we were there together through that whole thing. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
just a pain in the ass. But yeah.
But we did get bumped to first class on the way there and on the way home.
Yes. Yes.
And we stayed awake the whole time we were there because we didn't want to miss anything.
Yes.
So we went sightseeing and we were just like,
It was kind of fun. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
glad
it
we
was
didn't get mugged running around
Yeah,
the city
me
at
too.
3 in the morning. But yeah, we have so many stories like that. We need to start
we have crazy stories.
divulging all of them now.
Our New Orleans stories are pretty cool.
Oh yeah, we can't divulge those. All right, well, thank you for watching, everyone. I'll put in a couple of shots of the story here so you can see what I'm talking about. Big publication, huge,
Yeah.
back in the day. And, sorry, Mike. I didn't have anything to do with any of that.
Thank you for not beating us up.
How do you know he could have beat me up, Jen? Maybe you. I would have said, Mike, do anything you want to the girl, but please don't touch me. No. Yeah. Sorry about that, Mike. Nothing to do with it in any way whatsoever. I was just like you, an innocent victim of a writer who
He
went
knows
too
that.
far. Yeah. He was like saying he wanted to beat me up.
I know.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. That's embarrassing.
My gay love
That's me right
for
there.
Bruiser, Tyson.
Yeah, you're not getting away with this. No, sir. You ate my eggs. That's it, buddy. You're going out to the country.